range of reactions can be like, what the fuck, are you kidding? This is the answer, but we don't have to do this. To, oh my God, how do you get through this? How do you live through this? You know, it's not so simple.
Welcome to LoveLink, your guide to relationships in all forms. We're your hosts, Dr. Simone Humphrey and Dr. Sina Simon. Today we're talking with Fred Wistow, a friend, mentor, and wise soul known for his clarity and perspective. Fred has this rare ability to cut through the noise and get to what really matters. Our conversation today is about listening, presence, and the simple power of human connection. So I was thinking a lot about how to introduce you because you've done a lot of different things. You've had a very impressive career as a lawyer. You were the general counsel at Warner, the first general counsel?
Of Warner Music.
Warner Music, yeah. And you did a lot there, but you're also a writer, and you're an editor, and you're a deep thinker. And what we find most interesting is that you're a trusted guide to many, 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 many people, to executives, to writers, to artists. You know, it seems like anybody you come across is eager for your advice and wisdom. And that's what we wanted. Maybe you don't agree with that, but that's what we wanted to talk to you about today. Okay. You have this way of drawing people in with your wisdom and your clarity. And I think you have a real gift for seeing people clearly and then offering very direct and honest feedback in a way that people can actually receive. They listen to you. And I also know from personal experience, because I've come to you for advice many times. I've come to you advice around how to write a CV when I was in college. I've come to you for advice about lots of different big life transitions. So, you know, I think that's a really special gift, and that's what we want to talk to you about.
Okay, I want a recording of this for my funeral. Thank you.
I know that was a really lovely introduction, Sina.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really feel that. So how are you feeling as we're getting started?
You know, anticipating that certain level of pomposity coming from me. You know, that person you describe, to the extent it's true, is just something that I sort of am or have become without, you know, a philosophy or a sense of grandeur. You know, I'm thinking back to the old days of the symposium of imparting wisdom on other people in a general way. Mostly my experience with people is one-on-one, and using old terminology that you may be familiar with, docking with another human being and sort of exchanging it, as opposed to this now speaking to the world, or however big your listenership is, that thing of what am I doing describing this, whatever it is that I do. So not quite the normal way I interact with people, except when I'm roasting them.
Right.
Right.
Hopefully we don't get too roasted on this.
Yeah.
But I come from, I mean, I've met you before, Fred, and I am excited to hear more about what you think you're offering or why you think people have been drawn to you, because this is something that I don't know about you, and I am very interested in what you think it is that people are looking for and how you give that to them.
I mean, sort of cutting to the chase, meaning present day as opposed to family of origin stuff, which I could also do. My basic thing, I think, is that I listen, which is so obvious and silly, you know, that to describe it in that way as some elevated activity seems almost pompous, what I was saying. But I try to actually listen to what somebody is saying. And in the course of that, I'm not going to apologize anymore for, describing myself in any kind of positive way, but it's a listening that I can sort of hear little cracks in there about what a problem may be that they may not even be wanting to say directly, but why they're talking to me. And in listening to it, giving gentle questions, and I say gentle rather than, lawyer-like assertiveness about having the story come out, and ultimately in this back and forth of listening and exchanging and understanding the story, I give back what they say in a first person rendition so that I am telling them what I've heard about their origins, the problem, use that word that we're talking about. And as I do it, get corrected by them when I've said something wrong, and then redo it so that when I'm done with this process, which is not something I thought about, but just came about naturally, I've delivered back to them. I'll use you, it's less complicated. I've delivered back to you a version of yourself that I have heard, that we've corrected, and you can now hear it outside of your own head, and as if you're talking less anxiously about a problem that, quote, I have, a third person, so that whatever the solution or a possible solution or the conflicts between all your multiple selves of I want to do this, but I want to do that, but I'm afraid of this, all of this sort of becomes a little bit clearer. And my earnestness or my need to engage in this stupid activity that is always done sort of pro bono, just as an act of helpfulness, becomes a feeling arises, I believe, that the other person believes like I actually care about them, which is for the duration of this experience is true, because it gives, on the selfish level, it gives me this feeling that of connection to another person that is very rewarding to me, and personally, as well as giving a kind of gift to another person that may be helpful to them.
Yeah, in some ways, it's like this really the power of effective communication that I think so many of us don't have. And I think Scene and I have been trained as therapists, and so a lot of what you're speaking to, it's like how we work.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it's really missing, actually, in society, where someone is talking about something and the other person comes with presence, they come with questions, they come with interest, and that feeling of the person who's sharing, of being understood. There's a real power in that. And so I believe that just having that in this informal way from, I don't know if the people who are coming to you tend to be younger, but of just having a kind of mentorship
Mm-hmm.
is something so many people are missing.
Yeah.
And just to add to that piece around mirroring somebody's experience, telling it back to them as though you're them, right? And having them correct it, like how powerful that can be and how rare that is. A lot of the time people can provide empathy or a question, but to really get it right, you have to repeat it back and get that correction. That's very powerful.
Yeah, and I find, again, it wasn't intentional to give it back in the first person. And I don't know whether you guys actually do the same thing in one form of therapy or not, but it's both, I want to inhabit that person, not just say, oh, you're saying that you did this and your mother did this or your boss thing. It's like, oh, so I got it. Okay. I went into the boss and the boss did this and go it like that. To the extent this entire experience I'm trying to describe, which isn't terribly mystical, is also satisfying some need for me to open up my mind to something else other than all the shit that I may be thinking about my pointless existence, that I can escape by helping somebody else with their problems. So one of the things I think about, and how the fuck did I get into this, is that in the beginning, you know, my mother always reminded me, and I mean always, that her mother had died a year and a week before I was born, and God had brought back to her mother, through me, the magical appearance of me, whether she meant that metaphorically or not. So I had this hypnotic command to take care of her, which got clear to me when I later read, you know, the first couple of pages of Drama of the Gifted Child, or Prisoners of Childhood, of the thing where the responsibility of parenting is shifted. And then I had an older brother who was always getting into trouble in one way or another, and I'd listen to his stuff. And in this process, either by nurture or naturally, I became a guy who wanted to, if not solve the problems, soothe them in some way by listening to their bullshit, or acting as a kind of intermediary between my brother and my parents in helping him solve whatever his thing was. And in the course of it, I trained myself, or was trained or conditioned not to expect that I would be listened to, so that somehow out of this training program, I became a person who was here to listen to other people's stuff. And then it became a kind of not so half need, half conditioned response in dealing with other people, that's what I was to do. And then later in life, married, divorced, no kids, whatever that void of having some human beings that I could parent or should be parenting, that opened up the rest of planet Earth for me to parent whenever they came near me to do some, as you said, mentoring or parenting.
So this goes far back. This goes into childhood and being the kid who was kind of holding everything together at home and listening and keeping the peace.
Yeah, my original joke was that I'd started becoming a therapist in utero, and that just continued after. And who knows whether what I'm telling you is accurate. This is the story that I invented or accurately perceived was going on at the time. So yes, it has distant origins.
But either way, you have trained yourself to be in this role of listener, of caretaker, of mentoring. And it sounds like it's both been really rewarding for you because you have experienced a lot of value and praise and appreciation. But then also there's this, I don't know, I mean, you tell me about this sort of like painful part, and I'm wondering if there were people in your life who were able to give that to you. And if there are people now that you experience that from, or that you kind of carry this role of always being the one to give.
You know, I had 200 years of therapy, or 10 or 20 or something along the line. And one of them was somehow a former EST trainer who 40 years ago, we may have invented coaching, because I spoke to him once a week on the phone. And he didn't know whether it was the first time he'd ever done it. He was in Washington and I was in New York, and is this going to work? And one of his great talents, you know, however badly Est turned out over time to be looked at, was he never got lost in searching for some other distant cause of whatever was happening. It wasn't therapy as I had normally experienced it, of how did your mother fuck you up, or how did you fail to do this 100 years ago. It was, what is happening now? And the clarity of his approach was the most refreshing thing, because it wasn't militaristic or I don't want to hear that shit. It was always about what is happening now. What is it that you want to do? And even now, as I'm saying this, it sounds more strict and commanding. It wasn't. It was a way of communicating that he was hearing me on a deeper level and was also guiding me in some way. Whatever he was doing, which of course now I've forgotten, it isn't what it is, whatever it is that I do, but it was always so remarkably uplifting in just the tone of the rhythm and the tone of his communication.
You wrote a great piece, Confessions of a Lifelong Therapy Addict. And I pulled a quote that you wrote about Don. Don was his name, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just like, which I can read the read the quote if you want me to read the quote.
Good, good.
Yeah, you wrote, the vast canvas of human interaction became something like a board game, with Don teaching me the handful of rules that made play both brisk and clear. His few precepts offered a liberating escape from the need to relive and be victimized by the past, a way to endlessly refuel the future with possibility. Which I think is exactly, how you summarized it, which is so great, like how sometimes, and this resonates for me, in therapy, we can get caught in just exploring the past. What does this go back to? And some of that is helpful because you can see more clearly how that collapses into the present. But a lot of the time what people are really longing for is like, yeah, okay, but now what? Like,
Yeah.
Let's go. I have years ahead of me. That's what I want to be focused on.
Yeah. So normally in this kind of semi-fictional way that I'm describing about people coming to me, ones that I don't know, I say, tell me something like a brief biography, not a deep thing, but something. I grew up, I did this thing, what'd your parents do? So I got some substance, probably more than Don did. And then what's going on? What is it that's you wanted to talk about? And on the most ridiculous level, thinking about this as a kind of, minute mysteries where, they have a one-page thing where Tom and Sally walked into the thing and saw the dead body over there, but then the other guy would, you get a couple of paragraphs and then you have to figure out what the answer is. So in this sort of, when I feel like ridiculously powerful, I'm imagining that I'm going to hear this thing of mommy and this thing that happened in junior high and this and what's happening now. And then I can have the solution and then he can live happily ever after when I tell him the story back. Because wasn't it the butler in the conservatory with a knife that did this thing? And you're right. That's right. And now I'll live happily ever after. Goodbye.
If only it was that easy.
Yeah. But sometimes that happens. Well, even if you reach that thing and you get to Butler in the conservatory with the knife, and there is some connection between the thing that you really feel something shifted, you know that in a week, even if that actually solved the murder mystery, there's going to be another fucking thing. Mm-hmm. Life doesn't just stop. Now I'm cured forever. It's in some advance forward. And that moment is rewarding. And so one of the things about therapy looking back is when it sort of left a feeling of something wanting is when it just goes on and you come in weekly. This isn't, an attack on therapy, but when it felt dead, it was, I'm coming back. And now I'm just reporting, like Musk wanted the government employees to say, what did you do last week? So I came in and I did this and I did that and the thing, and holy shit, that's 35 minutes gone. So now what? And then, oh, I did this week. And like, you've lost track of that energy where you're nuts and you're coming into therapy of like, okay, let's fucking handle this in some way. Maybe not in a minute mystery, but make each thing as explosively alive as it can be.
Hi, LoveLink listeners. Our group practice, Modern Mind, is located in New York City with offices in Brooklyn and Manhattan, offering in-person and virtual psychotherapy. We provide individual, couples, and group therapy, as well as ketamine-assisted psychotherapy in conjunction with a psychiatry prescriber. Therapy is a powerful experience that can transform your life and help you live it to its full potential. We're here to help take you where you want to go. To find out more about our practice, visit www.modernmind.co or email info@modernmind.co to be connected with one of our therapists.
And this is where I actually think therapists can learn from coaches, because coaches are all present focused. And oftentimes therapists, right, you come to that aha moment, that light bulb moment, and then you just stay there, rather than how do you actually apply that? Like, what does that look like? And I think that's a step that many therapists miss, is how do you actually, I mean, I'm thinking also about all this psychedelic work that people are doing. You know, they have these big epiphanies and these big moments of transformation, but you go back to baseline if you don't actually use it, if you don't integrate it into your life. And I think therapy is the same way. How do you actually take that and weave it into your life to make change? Otherwise, we go back to this homeostasis.
Yeah. Again, on whatever level this is, for me, the most important question is when, because it already presupposes that something is going to happen, whatever we've talked about. And that's right. I am going to do that. Okay. Whatever the fuck it is, when? Well, next week on Wednesday, are you going to do it at 10 o'clock? Specificity of action to me always comes down to when are you going to do this? And I think Sina is fairly well aware how ridiculously overscheduled I am. So I'm like overly obsessive about time and all that other shit. But I think it's important, the thing of how does a therapist do something? Like, okay, now to bring it into the real world, tell me a time and a place where this, whatever we just talked about, is going to happen.
I think that's great, getting specific with people and kind of holding them accountable.
Yeah.
Okay, you said you're going to do this thing. Why didn't it happen? I'm curious, what are the other, like when somebody comes to you with a problem, they're feeling stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of walk us through, like after you do like a bit of the history, not too much, what are some of the helpful ways, some of the interventions, without them being like, interventions necessarily? It sounds like, a lot of this has been an intuitive process for you, but how do you help them? Like what do you tell them? What are some of the questions that you might ask that you find really useful in getting to the heart of the matter?
My initial answer is I don't know, but I believe, and maybe I've already said this, I believe that people know what the answer is, and that once we relive whatever the rendition back is, there's no format for me. It's just this interconnection and interrelationship. So what do you think? I'm doing this example. Should I go to the boss? Should I write him a thing? Or do you think I should talk to this other person? I guess I'm working out scenarios, if I can half make this up while we're talking about alternative routes, but always with the idea, again, not so much pushing them, God damn it, do your homework. It's more, hey, what do we do we, I, you, me, what do we do to make this thing different? And ask, and depending on whatever this is, I'm thinking of this example where I was at a wedding. Not one that I did. I was a guest at a wedding, and I was next to this woman who told me that she was just fired, a corporate restructuring or something, and she was looking for a job. Do I know of any jobs? I just, yeah, I think there are jobs out there. And then whatever version of whatever I've already told you of who are you, what are you thing, and got a story. And then I said, without going through the details of the whole thing, I said, hey, did you ever think of applying to an ad agency? And then she looked at me like, oh, what, like a psychic or something. What the, what? How? And said that was so brilliant. And what had happened was, in the 5-minute rendition she had given me, somewhere along the line, she said ad agency, and that she had done it, and that her career went like this, but it seemed to make sense of, what about this? And as if she had forgotten her own life. Because I also believe that every goddamn thing is habit, and you get mind forged manacles, and you can only think a certain way. So one of the ways of giving the thing back to somebody is hearing it and breaking out of the anxiety and emotion, in an ideal case. So I said this thing, and it was like, oh my God, yeah, that's right. And then in about 10 minutes, she said, okay, so look, if you have any job opportunities, can I give you my card? Sort of like whatever that moment of, I understand now something. It was like, no, I have to go back. I'm pulled back into this other state of, do you have a job for me, or this person at the table? So that those moments of potential reinvigoration can vanish, the gravitational pull back into whatever stasis is that can happen is always ready to do it.
Yeah, I was just called back to a time when I met with you. This was after I'd gotten a divorce, and I was feeling super anxious about dating. I was like, well, what if I never, maybe this was even before I got divorced. It's like, what if I never meet anybody again? Like, like that anxiety spiral that people get into, including myself, in a moment of stuckness. And you were like, well, in my experience, people who've been in relationship move into a relationship. And it was very simple. I was like, yeah, of course. If you've been in relationships in the past, chances are try other relationships in the future. But there was a way of, just calming. It was back to planet Earth, from the spiral. Yeah.
I remember that moment. And I also remember that I realized that the in therapy, as opposed to, coaching or something, the best moments I had usually had something to do with something like that. Like your grandmother in the shtetl had some little urban wisdom, or urban or rural or shtetl wisdom that's so basic, it's ridiculous. So early on, the first shrink that I went to, I don't know, late teens, early 20s or something, I said, I'm really embarrassed about using baby talk with my girlfriend. It's not manly, or it's bad, or I'm no good. And he didn't say it in these words, but in effect, what the fuck are you talking about? Every song is baby, and everything is about, baby talk. That's what happened. It's okay. I'm allowed to do this. Just simple things of how to live life, or how to, not complex, not great insights, just basic rules, were the most enlightening moments in therapy.
It's both regulating anxiety and then also giving people permission to do what they already are doing.
Yeah.
Essentially. I mean, with this other woman that you were talking about, where she was coming to you for career advice, it's you're just saying you can do what you think is best.
Yeah.
In so many words. And I think that's really lovely. And I think that's unique, also because, and I'm wondering if you ever feel this, like just the impulse to give them an answer, the impulse to problem solve, because I think so many people have that. And I notice it in myself. Like as a therapist, I have less of that because I'm coming in with such intentionality. But when my friends come to me with challenges or problems, like I really notice this impulse to come in and give them advice or tell them what to do. And I'm wondering if that's something that you've worked through, if that's something that just you've never really had to grapple with, and if there are times when you just kind of give that advice and you think it's helpful.
You are keen. Yes, that's what I used to do. What the fuck? You do this. What are we even talking
Right.
about? Next. And then it was like, no, there is no answer like that until you recognize who this individual is and show them that you recognize them as a person. A lot of times people say, holy shit, I broke my arm and I had to go to the thing and the cops picked me up and did this. And someone will say, hey, I had a broken arm and I had a thing, and think, well, wait a second. What about, I'm telling you my shit about my broken arm. I need you to listen to my thing before you start telling me about your thing, your analogous experience. And also, when I'm describing a problem, I need you to understand my problem before you tell me the answer. There's got to be some space created by which I know that I'm being recognized as a human being and not just a minute mystery of here now, what do I do? So yes, I didn't have to learn. One day I woke up and said, what the fuck am I doing? This is not the best way to reach people. It's dismissive rather than connecting and being inclusive.
When do you give advice?
Well, I can give an example with you. You were asking me a thing of like, what do you want? What should I do? What should I do? And I said, I can't tell you what to do. It has to come from you, what the thing is. I know, everybody's telling me that. I have to figure it out myself. Yeah, okay, you want me to tell you what the fuck to do? I'm telling you what to do instead of your own choosing in life. And then I told you what to do.
You should tell me what to do.
Is this becoming a therapist? What was this for?
No, I think this was getting a divorce.
Oh, getting a divorce. And so you told Sina, get a divorce?
Well, I think he was hearing, I was telling you, I really want to get a divorce. Like I was laying out all the reasons why. And there were also some reasons why I was scared. But again, it's like the heart of the matter. The core of it was like, get a divorce.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. In thinking about it now, I felt that you knew, let's say the various Cena 1, Cena 2, Cena 5, most of them knew that this should end. But
Right.
I wanted you to say it, and you say, I can't get over this hurdle now. You didn't say these words, but that was the communication. And so I want someone to tell me. And so I was telling you, not so much like you were saying about, hey, here's the problem. Okay, fuck it. Just go do this and that. It was, I'd listen to this thing and say, okay, I'll do it. But what I'm really doing is telling you what you know already you want to do, not should, but want to do, but because the other voices of fear were there. So it was like finally pushing, you really want me to do this fucking thing? Okay, yes, you have my permission or my command or whatever advice, yes.
Right. It was very helpful.
And you laughed instantly when I said this, like,
Yeah.
Really? Okay, I'm over this hurdle? Yeah. And then you ruined the rest of your life, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is what I think is so special about what you offer people is that feeling of being seen, and really listened to, but not with like a ton of empathy necessarily. No, it's not like you're like, oh, that must be so difficult, or that's so hard, or wow, I'm so touched by what you're saying. You're just like, okay,
Yeah.
I got it. Like, which is actually somehow very freeing
Yeah.
to just have something that's, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, not, it's not that you're not warm, but it's like not
It's not
therapy speak or
pathologizing. It's not sort of like
pathologizing, maybe.
staying
Yeah.
in the victim role. It's saying, yeah, this is part of life. You're living it, and
Right.
it helped. I mean, I could imagine being the recipient of that, helping to get perspective.
Right. And feeling on equal footing, not like lesser than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's empathy by adopting who you are, by just being it and not, sort of judging it. My range of reactions can be like, what the fuck, are you kidding? This is the answer. But we don't have to do this. To, oh my God, how do you get through this? How do you live through this? It's not so simple. But the other part of it is, I don't charge money for this, whatever it is. By having made the mistake of having that career till I was 49, I also, as a side benefit, made enough money that I didn't have to think about money. So I don't have that pull that inevitably you have to have when somebody's paying you. Like, I don't want to go too far because I'll lose this income, or wait, don't quit. I want to drag this out more. I'm not accusing you, but some part has, a pecuniary interest in the therapy relationship. So when I'm doing this out of some sick need to do it, to, justify my own existence, I don't have the same monetary hook or, need. It eliminates something from it. At the same time, there's always the thought, if somebody's paying for something, they're going to care about it more. If I'm just there, I'll talk to you. What the fuck do I have to listen to this guy for? I don't have a stake in it. I'm not paying money. He's just another person. So, nothing is 100% clear, but the absence of money does have some ripple effects.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we've been talking a lot about being in relationship and connection and advice. And I also know that you've written about solitude and time alone with the self. And I'm wondering what perspectives you have about that, and what the value is of spending time alone in terms of gaining more connection with the self.
I think you hit the word, connection. I used to drink an enormous amount, and I found going off alone was a kind of literal detox. And then when I stopped finally drinking, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, it became a detox from whatever life is, from people, whatever pressures I have or habits. It cuts it all off. And then I'm confronted a lot with, what the fuck am I doing? This is rather pathetic. I'm here in this thing alone in some monastery. Is this what my life became? This is so sad and sick. And then the other time, this is fantastic. I don't have to do anything. This is amazing. Like, there's nothing, and that openness to the world. And I think it's not as dramatic, but something, one of the key therapy moments, and maybe you remember this better, Sina, from having read that article, was this time where I completely broke down in therapy and reliving some imagined or real incident where my mother did not come collect me when I was crying. And it was, invented or imagined or actually recalled. And I was bawling like I couldn't speak, not like crying at a movie, but, or tearing at a movie, but just some kid-like thing where I couldn't catch my breath. And when I walked out of there, that session, and the world was as alive as those, hallucinogens you were referring to earlier, and saw the vast beauty and variety of the world that my normal semi-comatose state keeps me blind to, like something physically had opened up and was released from that experience, and in a much more toned down, not quite tepid, but approaching tepid way, going off and just cutting off from everything does something. It kind of awakens me to the world in a way that all the habits and behaviors and conditioning that you wind up having blind you to. And this, so it's like a reopening and it's stripping away of veils that I'm aware of, but then forget that I'm aware of, and then just succumb to them.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And then what do you notice about how you re-enter the world after you go to a monastery for like a month every year?
On average, yeah.
Yeah. And then when you re-enter the world after that month, what is it like?
It's, simple words. It's slow. It's whatever level of normal anxiety and insanity I exist in is diminished, and I eat differently. I chew differently. It's not kind of soliciting awe. It's not that level. It's just simply a less habitual existence. Even when I'm doing the same damn things, it doesn't have that that blindness that I feel that I don't know that I'm in until I'm out of it, and then eventually it creeps back in, and
And
then
then you go back.
the normal despair of everyday life
Yeah.
resumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is a
Right.
month of silent meditation.
It's not so much silent meditation. It's more like hiding. It's a Protestant convent in Switzerland, and you basically don't talk, but it's not like strictly nuts. And you're assigned a nun who talks to you for for an hour a week to make sure you don't kill yourself or you have a problem or something. And there's no talking during the meals. But if you walking around and you say hello, good morning, it's not, Nazi like. And the thing I was saying about earlier, how therapy gets tiresome over time because you just get blind to it. A lot of this going there now is, why the fuck am I going there again? Who wants to do this again? And then I wind up going, and then I do get benefits that are surprising to me, the ones I tried to describe earlier. So that resistance of this seems too much of another sort of habit, addiction, blindness, but it works in some way less powerfully than it did at the beginning, but it still sort of does.
So this is a big question that Simone and I are going to ask it anyway.
Is it about geography? No. Okay.
Close.
Oh, okay.
But, after helping so many people throughout your life, we're curious what that's taught you about what it means to live a good life. What have you learned about that?
Well, I think when you began, I was going to say something about the number of adjectives you used, or whatever the word form is. When you said so many, many, many people at the start of this, we can check the tape, and now it's down to many people. Like by the end, when you helped that one guy that you met in the subway once, the homeless guy, I don't know how many it is, but what I think it is that just on my level, I need human connection, and not just me pontificating like this, but to feel like I'm in tune with someone else. And when I'm not, I get uneasy. And when I'm connected, using that without defining it, that I feel good. So this form on one-on-one, quote, helping someone, when I feel like it's working, it's amazingly powerful to me. Both, look, I have a purpose. Look, I'm Superman. I'm doing this. Look, this person may actually be feeling good about this experience. All of that means something. And in the, going off the solitude thing is connecting with, there's trees also. It's not just, a park. There's the world, or there's being alive, and that sense of not being lost only in your head, but connecting to either another human being or art or nature, in using the cliches. And that if I've learned about other people learned, or what I think everybody knows, that thing about isolation of other people, of not connecting, and how damaging that can be psychologically and emotionally. I've sort of learned firsthand how important that is, and how grateful people can be when they are connecting, even in these minute mystery reenactments that I'm performing for them, that it has deep value.
Thank you for sharing that. I really, I just resonate as a therapist also. I think you so beautifully captured what I feel in the work that I do. And yeah, that connection and attunement is just like, it's kind of makes life meaningful, but it also gives meaning on a very personal level. So yeah, thank you.
If we could do this, like once a week, and I can get as many compliments as you've given me, I would not object to it. Okay.
Well, let's make this a regular session then.
Yeah.
Thank you. Until we all get bored.
Yeah.
Right.